Whenever something bad happens to someone, we all tend to freeze up and run out of things to say. And usually, the thing we end up saying to someone who is hurting is something we regret later. On the worst day of my life, one of my friends came up to me, stuttered for a second, and then eventually said, "Hey, at least this will make a good senior witness one day, right?" Fingers crossed I don't let her down. It all started on September 22nd, 2009. My dad came home and was complaining about having a headache. It's important that I explain that although my dad has played sports his entire life and could easily run up and down a field or a court, the second he gets the slightest of ailments, it's like his entire world crashes down. Because of this, my mom, my little brother, and I didn't think anything of his complaints. We assumed he was just being whiny, especially when we told that his headaches were most likely caused by sinuses. My mom and I even went as far as making jokes at my dad's expense. That all changed around 4 in the morning on Thursday, September 24th. My dad's headaches had become unbearable, so my mom made the decision that it was time to take him to the emergency room. My brother Chris and I woke up that morning for school, and our parents were gone. Of course, my dad, being my dad, made a point to send out a group text to our family to keep them informed. Something along the lines of, "I'm going to the hospital," but we understood the point. Chris and I didn't go to school that day. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't have a very clear memory of things happening, just bits and pieces. I remember arriving at the hospital and being confused by the signs as we walked from hall to hall, and the sinking feeling I felt when we finally stopped at the intensive care unit. I remember playing solitaire with Christopher and my uncle, waiting for any sort of news. I remember my mom sitting me down in the corner of the waiting room and telling me that it wasn't just a headache, my dad wasn't overreacting. I remember being told that my dad had officially been diagnosed with glioblastoma and ependymoma brain cancer. While my mom told the rest of my family, I did what I did best. I ran away. I grabbed my iPod and left the ICU. I walked laps around the entire campus of Mercy Hospital for what felt like about 30 minutes, but what I found out later was actually several hours. I kept hoping that maybe, if I walked away, the tumor would go away too. I was searching for something, but I couldn't have told you what. After my dad's diagnosis, everyone else in my family formed this amazingly close bond with God, but I didn't. I got really, really good at going through the motions. I sang at church, got all A's in religion class, and talked often about how important it was to be close to God. I even got told several times that I had a model faith life. It's not that I was trying to lie or anything. I just wanted the sort of peace that my parents and brother had found in the church. To be fair, I do remember several moments of profound prayer in which I felt like everything was going to be okay. However, I remember way more instances of sitting in my car, belting out, losing my religion, and asking why something like this had to happen to me. It's not that I didn't believe in God, or even that I hated him. I just realized pretty quickly that I didn't care anymore. That all changed at the Kairos 51 retreat this year. I was a leader at it, and honestly, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the complete wrong person for the job. It all built up to one night when I wanted nothing more than to be able to pray for my dad, but I couldn't. I sat there feeling more lost than I had ever imagined, and then a couple of minutes later, another girl started praying. It took me several moments to realize that she was asking God to help me and my dad, and that moment shook me to the core. I cried, and I cried hard, which, for those of you that know me, doesn't happen often at all. I've been told several times that I'm too strong for my own good, but that's not necessarily true. I don't talk about things that hurt me, I never cry in public, and I am way more likely to focus on someone else's pain than I am my own. But here I was, not even strong enough to pray for my own father. Luckily, this other girl was. And here I am now. A round of radiation, 2 rounds of chemo, a stint on a clinical trial, and 4 brain surgeries later, and my dad is still fighting, and fighting hard. Honestly, some days I get so angry, and God is the only person that I can find to be angry with. Then, I remember that on September 24th, 2009, my dad was told that he would be lucky if he survived the next year. Just in case math isn't your strong suit, that was almost 2.5 years ago. And that has to mean something. On days when I feel completely lost in my faith, that's what I hold on to. My dad is a walking miracle. So maybe God and I aren't as detached as we once were. Whenever people ask me about it, I describe it as two teenage girls after a fight. That point when you're not mad at each other anymore, but you don't quite know how to play nice. But I'm trying. I know I'm not the only person in this room who's had a significant struggle in their life. And I also know that I'm not the only one who has allowed that to put a damper on their faith. But if there's anything that my dad getting sick has taught me, it's that life is way too short to let the bad stuff hold you down. You have to be able to forgive and embrace the life that you've been dealt. It's not easy, trust me, I know. But my hope for myself and everyone else in this room is that we can find the strength to forgive and embrace God in our lives as much as we can.
Wonderful testimony. At this time, we want to welcome Father Gowan.